back to the phone lines. We'll talk next to Christopher in Northville, Michigan, listening on the web. Hi, Christopher.
Hi, Hank. How are you doing today?
Good, thank you.
I actually have kind of a two-part question. Part one of the question is, I was reading Acts, and in Acts chapter 6, I noticed that the accusation that they made against Stephen was that Jesus would destroy the temple and change the regulations that Moses had set in place. And I realized that was one of the same accusations that they had made against Jesus. Now, in Acts, it says they brought false accusations against him, but they also were bringing false accusations against Jesus. I was curious if there was any external biblical references that referencing what Stephen had actually mentioned there, because I just found that kind of interesting, and then I had a follow-up question.
Well, no, I mean, look, Satan never presents error in its naked deformity. If he did, no one would buy into it. So they had to make the blasphemies, at least from their perspective, sound as though they were credible. And certainly they'd be credible in the sense that people would have heard Stephen, like the Lord, predict the destruction of the temple and the destruction of Jerusalem. This is what he believed. This was part of what he had learned from Messiah himself. But was he a false teacher in this regard? No. What happened was the antagonists of Stephen, the antagonists of our Lord, believed that this was a change in terms of theology, and this was not a change in terms of theology at all. The theology was never that the type and shadow would last in perpetuity, but that the type and shadow would point to Jesus Christ. And when Jesus Christ came, there was no longer need for the type or shadow, because the ultimate sacrificial lamb had come. The reason the temple was destroyed is because they did not recognize Messiah in their midst. And to say they did not recognize Messiah in their midst is not to say that they didn't know Messiah was in their midst, but they would not hail him as Messiah.
Okay. So do you think, this was kind of still part of the same question, do you think that it's likely that this is something that Stephen actually said then?
Yes, but
Okay.
they were putting a spin on this as though what Stephen was saying was distinctly false, because they are suggesting that in Stephen's view, their dogma was being changed. But really, their dogma was wrong, because they wanted to stick with temple, priest, and sacrifice, and they didn't recognize Messiah in their midst.